Hey everyone, I'm Micah, and this is my GPS research project for this week's discussion board. So we've been talking a lot about the G1000, and so that's kind of what I picked to talk about as my GPS, or I should say the GPS that's integrated into the G1000 is what I'm going to be talking about, along with kind of overview of G1000 stuff as well to kind of show how it's integrated. So it does integrate instruments, flight instruments such as like airspeed indicators, heading, uh, and altimeter, along with GPS and autopilot. It also has stuff like communication for radios, audio, uh, cabin audio, and then also engine indicating systems such as oil pressure, oil temperature, RPMs, manifold pressure, also depending on what type of plane you're flying. Two main screens, you get the PFD and the MFD, which both have integrated GPS systems in there. Not necessarily separate GPS systems, but they both have the GPS integrated into it. So let's start off with the AHAR. So that just means attitude and heading reference system. So this system uses accelerometers, tilt sensors, and also rate sensors that gives you attitude information. And then it uses a magnetometer to provide the heading information. They do equip you with a standby attitude indicator that is vacuum powered in case the AHARS does fail. The ADC is going to be the air data computer, so that takes the pitot-static system and provides you with the altitude, airspeed, and vertical speed information in that electronic kind of tape looking thing on the screen on the PFD there. Also equipped with a standby airspeed indicator and altimeter in case the ADC, the air data computer, does fail in the G1000. So I was going to start off with WAS as well. So WAS is part of the GPS capability. So it meant to put it on there, but it means Wide Area Augmentation System. So G1000 systems are WAS equipped. So what is WAS? WAS consists of the satellites that make up just basic GPS, but also it integrates ground reference stations and then two master stations. Through this, it creates a corrected GPS message to increase both integrity and accuracy of the GPS information. What's it correcting for? It's correcting for spatial disturbances, timing and satellite errors that could possibly be there, and then integrity information. So again, increasing that accuracy and integrity. With this ability, we're able to fly LPV approaches, and then possibly LNAV, VNAV. So it does matter if you have that barometric aided altimeter, which you need to have for the LNAV, VNAV approaches. These allow you to get lower into airports with lower weather and make flights more successful. More reliable positioning information as well, so it's really, really accurate. And so, it's not like you're super off of where the GPS thinks you're at. So navigation-wise, again, both the PFD and MFD have these, but you can get the flight plan page is bigger on the MFD. But you can put in the whole flight plan in there, from your start to your destination, and then all the way through whether you're on a VFR plan or an IFR plan. You also have a flight plan catalog, so you can actually save certain flight plans in the catalog so that it's really easy to just pull up rather than having to input it every single time. It also has VNAV capability, so VNAV as in vertical navigation, and so the autopilot actually, if you program it in, can actually fly VNAVs. So if you say I want to be at an altitude at this certain waypoint, it will be able to either tell you how to get there, or if you let the autopilot do it, it can fly it as well. Programmed in there, as long as you keep everything up to date, it can fly the approaches, it can fly arrivals, departure procedures, and other stuff such as VNAV, as I was talking about. So a lot of navigation ability there. The autopilot does have an integrated autopilot, flies the approaches with great accuracy. And you can also program stuff such as holds. So unpublished holds you can actually put into the G1000, which is great because you can fly more accurately. Not saying that manual holds aren't bad, or I'm not saying they're bad, but if you can input it into the G1000, then that's going to make it even easier. And then again, as I was kind of talking about earlier, it can fly VNAV profiles, so making sure you're at altitudes at certain waypoints, whether it's for terrain, ATC tells you, and all that good stuff. Either way, it can fly it. So on the side of making aviation safer, the G1000, also with that GPS, the WAS capability, a lot of systems, especially like in more advanced aircraft, I know a lot of, like Citations might have like the Garmin G3000 rather than the G1000. But these are, I wouldn't say they're pretty similar in how they kind of look and also kind of how they act on the buttons. Not 100% similar, but a lot of similarities to them. A lot of aircraft are being widely produced now, like just in the factory with the G1000 or, glass cockpit. They're really kind of starting to phase out steam gauge. So through this, we're able to reduce workload, fly more accurately without kind of human pilot error, rather than, everyone, is, sometimes focused on heading rather than altitude. So you'll dip down, dip up. So we can kind of take away that error and just fly it a lot more smoother and accurately. And then again, I was talking about earlier, kind of with WAS, improved accuracy and integrity through that GPS ability with the with the master stations, the ground stations, and all that stuff to correct for GPS errors there. So I called it a two-edged sword. So yes, autopilot's great, and I talk about a lot of excessively using autopilot can also make it bad. So pilots possibly relying too much on automation. So, pilots aren't flying the plane. The autopilot is all the time. So their stick and rotor skills are going away pretty quickly just because they're not flying it. And so when an emergency situation happens and, they lose autopilot, a lot of times, a lot of aviation accidents have been occurring because of over-reliance on automation. And so because they just don't have the flying ability, because they haven't been doing the experience, because they've just been throwing on the autopilot. And so these are my references that I kind of got off all the information from. But the G1000 is a great system. Everything's really turning into glass, especially commercial-wise. So the G1000 is great. They might not necessarily have the G1000 in the commercial planes, but it's a really great way to start learning all the glass cockpit information. So thank you.